good result then for Newcastle as they take the victory to win by 3-1. Of course, when we talked about top 4 places, we talked about these teams maybe vying for it come the end of the season. Given Newcastle's poor run, they've still got a lot of work to do. But for Villa, they need to put the brakes on this free fall at the moment. They still remain 4th. However, Spurs can go level on points now with Aston Villa. Of course, they're in action later on in the week. Don, from a Newcastle perspective, your childhood side, what a result.
What a result, Dan. I was at Craven Cottage on Saturday for the FA Cup win, and it felt as though with Jacob Murphy back in the side, Almiron, there was talks of him going to Saudi. Well, their window closes tomorrow, so I can't see that move happening. They were back to their best against Fulham, and then they went away. They got a clean sheet against Fulham. I think it was more or less the exact same 11 that started the game tonight. So it shows you they're strong. There's players starting to come back from the treatment table, and they're looking good again. That back line, they are giants when you think of Dan Burn and Sven Botman, Fabian Schär, who got 2 tonight, and obviously Kieran Trippier with his quality. The only, I think, they lost Isak later on in the game, which is obviously a concern, and then Gordon played through the middle. So they're still leaking 1 or 2 injuries. Dubravka had a leg strapped up later on and sort of limped off in the 90th minute. Well, sort of limped through the game. But the players are starting to come back. They're strong. Shaka knows when you play games in the Premier League, Dan, it can turn very, very quickly. And they've got a clean sheet against Fulham. They've gone 3-1 tonight. Longstaff missed a sitter towards the end, so it should have been 4 or could have been 4. Then the games that they've got coming up, they've got Luton and they've got Forest. So there's no reason now why Newcastle can't be optimistic they can put a run together.
It's incredible, Shay. You take a look at their run leading into this. Obviously, Don mentioned the Fulham game, but before that, you had 4 straight defeats in the Premier League.
Yeah, and a couple of weeks ago, I said that Newcastle had this run of games that included Villa, included Arsenal, but about 10 others in the next 12 were very winnable games.
Yeah.
And it was important that with players coming back off the treatment table, that they make the most of this. I thought this should have been a tougher test than it actually panned out to be, and while the opening 2 goals came from set pieces, no less than Newcastle deserved. And I felt Villa were a little bit poor to start with. In that, I thought Villa allowed Newcastle to press them really high up the park and kind of take the onus of this game to Aston Villa, which really surprised me for a team. You spoke about their home record coming into it, and just invited that, and it had Newcastle playing with a confidence at Villa Park that I certainly didn't expect early on. And then after about 15, 20 minutes, they started to press, and it became a little bit more of an even game. But at that point, Newcastle are in their stride. Newcastle are playing with confidence. And while as I mentioned, the opening 2 goals come from set pieces, I thought Newcastle were really bright. Gordon, Almiron, Murphy just continues to shine so brightly in terms of Newcastle on the counter-attack and playing and pressing high up and with pace. And from then, in truth, again, while maybe 3-1 might be a little bit kind, I don't think anybody questions that Newcastle were easily the better of the 2 teams on the night.
And we're seeing those injuries to Villa just start to catch up with them a bit, Don.
Yeah, I think Pau Torres is a miss,
Yeah.
I think Clement Longley is a good defender, but he's not Pau Torres. I think that's the miss. I mean, they've got 1 or 2 injuries. They've still got a good team. They've still got a fantastic manager. But the results, momentum, they're having their little blip. They drew, I think, against Sheffield United. I think they drew against Everton as well. They've chucked a few points away. They were leading 2-0, don't forget, against Man United. They lost that game 3-2 as well. So the season that they're having is amazing. But it could have been so much more, and it still can be. But they're just having their blip at the sort of wrong time. So they've got to try and get players back. I'm not sure if they'll make any moves in the transfer window from now till the window closes. So they need to get back on the training ground, try and get back on the horse, try and churn out a win, even a scruffy win, because they're having a torrid time of late.